Everything sports with Jim and Matt. Welcome to our new time slot, noon. Should be fun, and we'll have lunch with you guys. So get out the lunch boxes. It's time to have some lunch. Matthew, welcome back, and it's exciting. It's it's Masters Week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Part three contest just got started. That's viewable on ESPN Plus and the Masters app, masters.com, starting at 12. Then ESPN, well, I believe carries it on their main channel on ESPN from 2 to 4 this afternoon as well.
Yeah.
Just really the most relaxed day probably in golf for the season. And it comes right before what's probably the biggest tournament of the year. I think it's a fun juxtaposition to what the
Mhm.
tournament itself is, and I think what is oftentimes a rather serious nature, and kind of the way just Augusta National is as a whole. The tournament, how serious, how much it means to everybody out there, and just how lighthearted you're running around with your kids playing on this golf course that
Mhm.
people try their whole lives to get out there on.
Right. It's membership has its privileges, as the old saying goes.
Yep.
Um, there's a lot of interesting things about the Masters. The first one is that since 1956, CBS has been the exclusive broadcast partner for the Masters. In these days of the amazing amount of rights fees that are being given out, the Masters has no rights fees. There's
Mhm.
not a single penny um, goes to them from a standpoint of how this is done. And Matt, you talked briefly a minute ago about control.
Mhm.
For the Masters and the Augusta National, it is all about control. They sell their own ads. They purchase their own time. Technically, they purchase the time. The time is basically given to them because production-wise, CBS picks up the bill for all the production.
Mhm.
Um, Tomorrow, Amazon will join the group. They're coming on at 1 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock comes the ESPN group, and then on Saturday and Sunday, CBS enters the picture.
Mhm.
All of the production that is being done for the Masters doesn't matter what platform it's on, whether it's on, you know, it's on Masters Television or Amazon or ESPN. CBS does all the production, and because the Masters deems it that way, they want total control.
Mhm.
Meaning, by the way, they have the choice of announcers if they choose not to, and have in the past chosen not to have certain announcers from CBS be part of the team. That is their prerogative. There is
Mhm.
no event that is less, and I say this, less TV friendly than the Masters. And I mean the less TV friendly means that they have never changed to meet the the criteria of what a broadcast would be. They have certain hours, they have certain windows, they have certain, you're not going to get first hole to 18th hole coverage every day. It's not going to happen.
Mhm.
They allow the amen corner, they allow certain situations where you can follow things, but you're not going to get a 1 through 18, you know, time, even though the fact that if you look at the Golf Channel starts at about 8 o'clock in the morning with, the morning from the Masters, then they transition over now to Amazon, who will have primes on from 1 to 3, then 3 to 7 is ESPN. And then
Mhm.
they flip that over the weekend to Paramount Plus, has the early part, and then CBS joins Paramount Plus at around, I want to say, 2 o'clock. It takes it through 7 on Saturday and Sunday. So this is a very unique event. It is incredibly well organized. It has been for a number of years, and it is an anomaly in so much as I said before, there's no rights money that goes into this. So TV does not dictate what goes on at the Masters. It's just the opposite. The Masters dictates what the TV coverages, and if they don't like certain things, believe me when I tell you, they will make it well known that they're not crazy about it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's unique because they leave so much money on the table year after year in terms of you talk about rights fees, how they don't have any of those, in terms of what they do in their merchandising shop as well to the food itself. Like you could easily charge as much as you wanted because of the exclusivity of the tournament and the fact that you're probably not going to leave midday to go get something to eat. You could probably charge a pretty penny for that pimento cheese sandwich that they sell for $1.50.
Right.
And I mean, this is
You
stuff
get potato
where,
chips with that, by the way.
yeah, and this is stuff where you also have things like there's a widespread belief that this is going to be the last year that the gnomes that they've kind of have really made a big boom here since they got introduced back in 2016. Uh, that this is going to be the last year given their 10th year. And why would they do it? Because they feel like they've gotten too big, like they've kind of become a thing, and they don't love that. So there's just so many little things that they have control of, and they change, and that there's something about it, that control that they have, and they're able to maintain, and the fact that they leave money on the table that makes this unique, that makes this special. Because everybody else, I mean, heck, I have long since held the thought process that the way that college football was ran prior to the playoff, like that was something where you had an exclusivity in your postseason, even really in that 14. Why had stuff like that changed? Because they were chasing after the dollar. So it's really special that this tournament, for as big as it's gotten and as exclusive as it is, like this, it's the only one that doesn't rotate of the four majors, right? And it's so special, and it's special mainly because they've been willing to leave a lot of money sitting on the table.
And when Jim Nance utters that phrase, a tournament like no other, or an event like no other, he's right. It is like no other. There's nothing like it. Whether it's the good reason or bad reason or whatever the reason, that is what it is. And you may recall, and this has been a while back, but Martha Burke took the Augusta National to court over their non-inclusion of women as members of the group.
Yeah.
And for 2 consecutive years, the Masters went commercial free. Because she said that she was going to have a boycott of the sponsors. Well, the Masters said, fine. If we have no sponsors, you can't boycott us.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, what happened is Condoleezza Rice, who, of course, served in George W. Bush's cabinet, and I believe, I cannot remember, I apologize, the member, the woman who was in charge of American Express, or I'm sorry, AT&T. Both of those women were offered and accepted Masters memberships. And from then on, the commercials came back. But the Masters does wield tremendous power, and they understand the uniqueness of their event, and money doesn't change that for them.
Yeah. I mean, if we're being honest, being a resident of the state of Georgia, it's really kind of goes to show, like, the town of Augusta, Georgia is nothing to write home about, but they stuck the most famous golf course in the world in the middle of it. And now it's a hub for 1 week every April. Like there's nobody that's like dying to get down to Augusta, Georgia, other than for the Masters, really.
It's funny. I have a friend who's many years, and excuse me, there's a University of Georgia Medical Center there, and he became the head of the University of Georgia Medical Center, and he's a very non-sports guy, and we were speaking, and I asked him, because he did not live in Georgia. He grew up in the Orlando area, moved to Tampa, then went up to New Jersey and then came back down to Augusta. And he said, what can I expect at Augusta? I said, nothing like you've ever expected in your life. It's not, it's like you're stepping back in time. The town of Augusta, I don't think ever left the 50s, from that standpoint. But it's unique. So as he was speaking to me on his car phone, he goes, "Hey, look," he goes, "This is a beautiful golf course here. Do you know anything about it?" I go, "Yeah, Paul, it's a very special golf course. And you're not going to be able to play it, which is okay because Paul didn't play golf anyway. But it's Augusta. It's funny when you get on the grounds of Augusta. It is, if you are a golf person, it's as if you are visiting some religious, outpost. Something it's special.
Yeah.
You realize that it is historically I don't care if you're a golf fan and you live anywhere, Kuala Lumpur, you're gonna what the Masters is. And it might be that in English and the British Open are probably the only two events that some golf fans, casual golf fans, will watch. And they, both of them, both the Masters and the Open Championship, control a sizable portion of what you're going to see. They don't, as a matter of fact, every announcer, I've seen the notes as I've given them to announcers when back in the day when I was a PA for CBS and did golf. It's basically, you can't call them fans. You're not allowed to call them fans. They're patrons. Okay. So patrons are what normally you would think of as people go to ballet or the symphony or whatever, major cultural event. And, they dictate, and I say dictate, that's not meant to be in a bad way or a good way or a judgmental way. It is just using the term dictate. They dictate the terms of how the show was run. They love Jim Nantz. They've loved CBS. I mean, no event has had a longer relationship with a single network than the Masters has when Frank Chikinian went in there in 1956 to do the first Masters. It was also Frank Chikinian and CBS who changed the scoring system, which we now know in golf. The first 2 years, it was aggregate. Okay, so each day you add, if you shoot a 70 today and shoot a 70 tomorrow, the thing was on the scoreboard on TV was 140. And Chikinian said, this is confusing to people who never watched golf before. And since the Masters was the only tournament on golf on television, he suggested that the numbers being red and minus below par. So where they are. So if it's 5 or 6, you don't have to do mathematics in your head. You can see it right there on the screen. And so it's there'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 cameras there. We'll talk about that, the technical side of it, at another time later this week. But it gets underway today. It is a holy day, a holy weekend for golf fans. And at the end of the day, that's really it is special.
Yeah, and there's so much that can be said for the tournament and just how the exclusivity that it does have. There's so much about it that makes it special in the way that it's done. It's even the way they go about keeping the course. Everything they do is tradition. You talked about the longest running thing. It's tradition at this point. They're so focused on tradition. They're not going to break that partnership at CBS. It's just not something that they're going to do because there's not a point. They're amendable to their terms, and they put on a fantastic broadcast every
Mhm.
year. So it's so special and it's so different, and
Mhm.
that's what makes it so great. Everybody wants to come in there and change things, and I'm not a big fan of it, and so that's part of what makes this so appealing.
Well, ABC, NBC, they've all thrown tons of money at Augusta National to pry the uh, the deal away from CBS that's never been done. And
Yeah.
there's a comfort level there, and they feel as if, okay, fine, this is who we are. Um,
Mhm.
now the if I'm not mistaken, and you probably know, Matthew, but I'm pretty sure that um, they have a very limited amount of time that they allow uh, the patrons to play on the course. Um, it shuts down, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of at the end of the summer, and then they begin the process of getting the course ready for April. So it's not, even if you belong at the club, you basically, once the tournament is over, you only have about a 6 month window to play.
Yeah, yeah, very, very fought. Like they are very strict about their playing times. You are correct. They don't.
Mhm.
They're not a very accessible course, I guess, in
Mhm.
terms of if you're going to have a membership. Like you're not
Mhm.
going to be able to play year round if you're a member at Augusta
Mhm.
National. Granted, those people aren't probably living in Augusta, so they probably don't care anyways. Most of
Right.
the time. But yeah, like the in terms of the grounds crew and everything they do, that's just a whole nother realm. Like
Second level then.
you have to have a certain classification of a superintendent's license to
Mhm.
even be able to volunteer to help the grounds crew at the
Mhm.
Masters. Like that's the kind of level. You've heard Phil Mickelson talk before in his interviews about how they had specific, like they'll have specific divot teams, or when the tree went down and Phil was playing a practice round and it
Mhm.
was gone by the time he was done. It looked like it had never been there.
Mhm.
They are so exact in everything that they do. And I think it's interesting because it looks so nice, and part of that is the way they mow it. Like the way they mow that place, a lot of it is like a fairway cut for the most part, because the course is so difficult the way it's designed, like in its design with the
Mhm.
pitch greens, with the sloping in the greens. I mean, there's stuff where I heard Akshay Bhatia talking this week, talking about the tee boxes and how the first one's flat. The first one's really nice when it's flat. Um, but that tee box is from there. Like sometimes the ball's a little bit above your feet, or sometimes the ball's a
Mhm.
little bit below your feet, depending on which side you're hitting from.
Right.
And so they are allowed to do stuff different from a lot of other courses because of the natural difficulty that the course has by itself. Like when you compare it to, I think a great comparison is Oakmont last year, because everybody
Mhm.
talked about how difficult Oakmont was, and the scoring's going to look different. Like
Mhm.
your winning score on Sunday is not going to be close to what it was at Oakmont. Um, but when you go through and you realize, like, the heavy rough at Augusta is cut at an inch and a half. That's like your local country club's rough length. Like it's not an extraordinary rough length. It's not a overly difficult rough length, but it's something that they're allowed to do because the course lends itself as a difficult test already. And it's you look at the trees and all the tree limbs are removed, and that's something that's partially aesthetic, but it also, like, that's something that's a little bit easier now, because now if you stray from the beaten path, you have those lanes and you have those windows that you otherwise may not have. But again, it's something that they're allowed to do. So the overall, like aesthetic and beauty
Mhm.
of the Masters is all stuff that they're able to do, and it's able to look so good, partially just because of the natural difficulty of the course itself.
It's funny you bring that up. The When Bobby Jones was originally looking for a place to build a golf course,
Hmm.
he was looking all throughout the South. I mean, that Bobby Jones, a Southern man, looking through where could I put it. Came across, a friend of his called him and came across this So there's a parcel of land that is going to go up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically was an arboretum. So there were trees and flowers and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. And when Bobby Jones took a look at it, he's like, well, no, if we buy this land, I'm not going to tear out the trees. I'm not going to tear out that. He goes, we're going to figure a way to basically parachute a golf course inside what in essence was a park.
Mm-hmm.
And, it took years for them to figure it out, but they figured it out. And so when you see the lushness of the trees and you see the flowers and you see all that, that's been there for decades. Okay. Almost a century. Okay. So the beauty of the course was not something that they had to create. They literally did the other thing. They, retrofitted a golf course in the middle of what in essence is a garden.
Yeah. And it's like, obviously you have the azaleas that they give you that pop of color
Mhm.
that everybody
Sure.
loves as well. They've become synonymous with the tournament and the
Mhm.
course itself. Just so much stuff. Like, I don't think I feel like it gets talked about, but a lot's made about their bunkers and the sand that they use, and they import the sand in, and it's just so white and it's so well kept and it's raked perfectly. And then you go down to stuff like even the way that the edges of the bunkers are kept,
Mhm.
like how clean those faces
Mhm.
are, that's incredibly difficult to do. Like it's not something that's easy to maintain and
Mhm.
have looking like that. And I mean, I even go now, like I'm thinking about all the because I live up here in North Georgia. It's about
Sure.
probably a half hour from Atlanta, um, going north, and up here, like grass is still not green. Like we're
Mhm.
getting green. That's starting to happen, but
Sure.
it's still very much in that kind of like mixture of it. And
Mhm.
to have it as green and as lush as it looks this
Mhm.
early in April with so much consistency. I mean, like you go back a couple of years ago when the hurricane hit and how
Mhm.
easily they were able to rebound from that. I mean, there was video, I think, from December where it looked like the 12th green, like they were doing some work on it and it looked
Mhm.
like it was flooded. Like there was like, it looked like a flood. And now when you turn the TV on tomorrow, it's going to be in perfect condition. Like
Mhm.
nothing ever happened. So it's honestly so incredibly impressive what that grounds crew is able to
Mhm.
do on such a consistent basis, because it's not something that I believe falls through the cracks in your normal day-to-day like
Mhm.
playing. This is a year-round thing, but they really put it into high gear and show what they can do really once the summertime ends.
It's funny, at Butler Cabin, there is a second story to it.
Hmm.
And that's where the amateurs get to stay. So they get to live on the course for the 4 days that they are there.
Hmm.
Most of them come in earlier. They only accept, I think it's 4 or 5 amateurs,
Yeah.
uh, and they all live together in the you know Butler Cabin, which you'll see. That is the place where ESPN and Amazon will be doing their anchoring. Will
Hmm.
be Butler Cabin, which is where the ceremonial green jacket is placed on the person outside, but technically those green jackets will be um, given to them again at Butler Cabin. The other thing is that, surprisingly so, uh, the green jacket stays at Augusta National. No,
Hmm.
you won, but the jacket doesn't go with you. The jacket
Well,
stays in Butler Cabin.
yeah, if I remember correctly, I think the way it works is for the year that you won it,
Mm-hmm.
you can take it home, put it in the closet, and it's yours. You still have to go through and schedule your like if you're going to wear it, you have to schedule it and like with Augusta National and make it known that the green jacket is like making an appearance or being put on kind of deal. Like you can't just, for Rory, he couldn't just put it on and walk down to the pub down the street in Ireland there.
No,
That's not an
this is not
option.
the Stanley Cup. No,
Yeah. So yeah, for a year it's yours, but after that, you're right, it does stay at Butler's or at Augusta National. I also think it's interesting that like they're not going to change their locker room. Winners share lockers in the champions locker room. Um, so I think that's interesting as well. So many little things. Talked about the amateurs. This year you actually have an amateur that was born in as Rory figured out, 2007, I believe it was, and Mason Howell, and that made him kind of pop his eyes, like, oh God, um, and talked about really what the Masters does in allowing past champions to play for as long as they want to, really, because it gives you the moments where you're playing with some of these, like somebody is going to tee it up with Fred Couples that in a million years did not believe they would be teeing it up with Fred Couples this week. Now you're not getting the same version of him, but you're still playing golf with Fred Couples and at Augusta National. Like that's something that
It's a master class.
Yeah, that's something that outside of trying to win the golf tournaments, pretty important and pretty cool, I think. So it's just so much stuff because this is a tournament that gets you the forever invite. There's not all of the majors are like that. What is it? The
Open. The Open is
the Open is so it's the US.
If you win the Open, you are a lifetime member of the Royal. What is it? The Royal. Shoot. It's the Royal. What is it? The Royal. Eek. The Royal and Ancient. That's what's right. The Royal and Ancient Country Club, which basically is in St. Andrews in Scotland. You may have won the tournament and not won it on St. Andrews, but that's where your RA, is. So it's a big deal in that part. And I do think the little things. The other thing is memories of golf. Milestones. Jack Nicklaus coming back and winning that Masters when nobody thought, they weren't even sure he could make the cut because he was older and that golf course has been changed, but it's a massive course, and I don't think people on watching it on television understand how hilly the damn place is. There's a lot of hills there, and when you're watching it on television, you really don't get to see, the topography of what that's like. But as I said, we had the Nicklaus thing, we had Tiger winning his first, we had possibly one of the most sad and bizarre endings when Roberto Di Vincenzo lost to Bob Goalby because Di Vincenzo miscalculated on his scorecard. He signed an invalid scorecard. So he was one stroke off in his edition. So he vacated it, and away it goes. Tony Jacklin, famous situation with Tony Jacklin. He received the check from the literal check from the Augusta National. He was so excited that he won that when he returned back to England and was having his clothes sent to the dry cleaners, realized that the actual money that he won was in the jacket pocket of the jacket he flew home with.
Oh my God!
So he almost gave it to the dry cleaner. Because winning the Masters is, for some of these guys, well, most of these guys, it's not about the money. It's about the prestige that I won. And look at Rory. How many years did, the first question out of the mouth after the tournament was, when do you think you're going to win? Yeah. And then Rory got that opportunity whenever he did win to turn around and say, what are we going to talk about today? Can't talk to me about not winning. I won. So, where do we go from here? So, and Scotty Scheffler showing up at, in Augusta earlier this week with his less than 1 year old child. It's a very special thing. And I know it takes a lot of heat. Okay. There is an incredible amount of heat. because we refer to it as a step back in the past. And look, I'm not gonna lie to anybody that the Masters was very, very segregated for a number of years. There were players who should have been able to play, Charlie Sifford being one of them. There were black players who were not allowed on that course, yet they were PGA pros. There was a lot of that. Have we come farther? We have. Have we come incrementally as far as we possibly should? No, but it's Augusta. You accept the fact that Augusta plays by its own rules, and you either accept those rules or you don't. And I think most people understand that. Okay, for one weekend in a year, we can not give a pass because times have changed even in Augusta. But we understand that, okay, tradition is tradition, and tradition can be changed a bit and still be good. And so when you think about it, for so many years that that there was issues with having blacks in the tournament, that the most exciting person in the last couple of decades who plays Augusta, who the Masters just go out of their minds trying to make sure he's there, is a black man by the name of Tiger Woods. He won't be there this year, but
yeah. And he was really like I think the biggest probably turning point there. And I think, again, another thing that makes Augusta different is there is like I know the majors are exclusive, like, and they're tougher to play, but some majors are easier to make the field than others. This is one of the hardest fields to make in all of golf, probably the hardest field to make in all of golf. You have to be top 50 in the OWGR, and you have to have certain placements in the other majors, or you have to go win a junior amateur or an open. Like, you have to go win stuff if you're not in the top 50 of that stuff. And so it gives you this concentration of the top talent in golf that really no other tournament, like, yes, the other majors are obviously extremely competitive fields, and you get all of the best golfers in one place, right? But this is like even like an even more concentrated version than the other majors give you, in terms of the player field, because you look at it like and I mean, I'll give it criticism because I think the criticism is deserved. Like, the field strength on Live Golf is not fantastic. But they still only have like 7 of their golfers playing, and they have I don't know how many golfers they actually have off the top of my head, but
Live?
Yeah.
It's less. It's less. It's like 50.
Yeah, but only 7 of them are able to make that field.
Well, I mean, of the 50, there's probably only 10 of them who are competitive.
Yeah, exactly. But even some of them that make it, like, Bubba Watson's not a guy that, if he had not won back in 2012, would make this Masters field. Dustin Johnson, if he didn't win in 2020, he wouldn't be in this Masters field. Like, they have plenty of those guys that just happen to be past winners that make it in the field. Really, their 2 biggest entrants, or their 3 biggest entrants, I would say, are Bryson, Jon Rahm, and Tom McKibben, who went out and won an Open in order to make it to this tournament. Like, that's their way of doing it. So these guys, like, this is so exclusive, it keeps that tour out. Like, that's something that they knew signing up, that making the Masters was going to be extremely difficult, because they could not get OWGR points. They could not win on the PGA Tour, and that the Masters wasn't going to respect a Live win the same that the PGA win was going to be respected by them. So you really do have to be at the top of your game. And you see all of these lists, like, there's these comprehensive lists where everybody goes through their checklist and says, these are the people that can win the Masters, because everybody that's won the Masters does this, 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 and this. Like, they have their set of requirements, like top 20 and strokes gained tee to green or something like that. Top 10 in approach, top 10 in putting, all this other stuff. And it gives you this list of like the top golfers in the game. And then you look at the field and you're like, it's pretty much the whole field. Like, like, you give enough criteria, anybody in this tournament can win it. You have your averages and stuff like that, and statistical outliers, but you know what you're getting out of Augusta every year.
Mhm.
And this year, I think we're even going to get probably a finer tuned version of it because of the weather that they have been afforded
Mhm.
going into this tournament. It rained pretty good on Sunday, to my knowledge.
Mhm.
And then it hasn't been too hot in
Mhm.
Georgia, but it's been warm enough and it's been really windy. So it's
Mhm.
dried it up. And you listen to some of these guys who came off the course and they talked
Mhm.
about, how it's always in great condition, but this year especially, it seems like it is just about as perfect as it could possibly, as you can possibly get grass to grow, really.
Mhm. And you think about the fact that you know that Rory comes back, that Scotty's there, that the top people in golf are participating, and that the Masters and that course is going to challenge every last fiber of your body to get it done.
Hmm.
And even though, as you said, and I think this is the crazy part of it. That stop is on the tour. It is a major,
Hmm.
the same course, but every time you play it, it's different.
Yeah, and that's part of like I think some people, there's no figuring Augusta out, right?
No.
Like Justin Rose finished second last
Mhm.
year, and he has also missed cuts like
Mhm.
previously as well. It's something where, I mean, you can ask the Golf Channel's top analyst right now
Mhm.
and Smiley Kaufman about it. Like
Mhm.
he was in the final grouping with Spieth in 2015.
Mhm.
That was the last time he ever played in that tournament.
Mhm.
Um, so nothing is guaranteed at Augusta. Just
Mhm.
because you played well last year does not mean you're guaranteed success this year. Like Bryson was in the final pairing last year. There's
Mhm.
no guarantee that Bryson's going to be in the final pairing ever again in his career. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that is going to happen. I'm just saying that's something that can happen.
Possibly.
Like Rory won it this year. You go back to all of Rory's years before that, how great of a golfer he was outside of that. He could miss the cut this year. Like he
Mhm.
won it. That doesn't give him a ticket to Sunday.
No.
So
But I
it's
didn't give him a ticket Saturday.
yeah, it doesn't give you a ticket past Friday, exactly.
Mhm.
So it's so tough, and that's why guys like Jack winning 6 times
Mhm.
and Tiger winning, what was it, 5?
5.
That's why it's so impressive. That's why it's impressive that Scotty Scheffler's already won twice
Mhm.
in his short stints there, because it's so hard to do. So when you see a guy like that, or
Mhm.
really you go back to Spieth in that 15-16 range, like he felt like a guy that kind of figured Augusta out, which is so hard to do.
Mhm.
And maybe you've played it on a video game before. I know I've played it on a video
Mhm.
game, and it's a video game. I'm going around. I'm like, hey, this isn't like I can like I'm shooting 6 under on the video game. That's not
Mhm.
that hard. And then you hear Brooks talk about his 59 attainable, and he just laughs at the reporter. Like there's a reason that no one's, what was it, 63? I don't think
That's
anybody
yeah.
shot. I think the low
Yeah.
score there is 64.
Yeah.
So there's a reason that nobody shot 63. Like it's not like,
And that didn't happen often either.
yeah, scoring wise, like you look at it and you go look at the opportunities, like you look at the shot that Rory's able to hit on, what was it, not what was it, 15 last year, and that par 5, and you're like, man, like that's a they've got some eagleable holes. Like you can
Mhm.
reach some of these. And it just doesn't work that way. None of the putts drop all the time
Mhm.
for any of these guys on this course. It's just the way it goes. So you go out there and 5 under is a banner day for you at Augusta National.
Mhm. And we talked about, the course being under construction every year to change little things around it. Obviously, there's not much you can change. I mean, as we
Mhm.
said before, you parachuted a golf course in the middle of a garden. But what you can do is grow the rough in different ways. You can cut the grass in a way that the ball rolls differently than it did the year before. So basically, each year they're mixing it up. It's kind of like you stand on the first tee. Everything looks the same
Mhm.
until you hit the ball, and then you're like, okay, that didn't happen last year.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so there's little traps, not to be confused with sand traps. There's little traps along the way that challenges even the world's greatest golfers because they didn't see it coming.
Yeah. And some of it's like small stuff that, like, for a golf tournament that's rooted in tradition and not changing, there's a lot of stuff that changes around Augusta National year over year.
Right.
Like, you look at it, they're trying to buy up land around the golf course and stuff like that. One of the pieces of property that they did purchase within the past 10 years is they used to lengthen the tee box on 13. They put in a new tee box in the back to lengthen the 13th hole in that tee shot. It's little things like that. Like, that's tucked back in the amen corner, so you're probably not going to realize it, right? Like, visually, it doesn't change a whole lot for you, but it's little changes like that matter, and they change the way the golf course plays. Sometimes it's lengthening, sometimes it's shortening. Like, just the constant, like, the little shifts in that golf course with how perfect it is as a golf course and how perfect you need to play it. They can make all the difference in the world.
They also do something, and I'm not even sure that people, unless you're a golf fan, understand that. And I'm not sure how they do it, but they move the creek. The creek obviously is, what's that, 16? Where the creek is?
That would be somewhere. 12.
12, okay. It's on the back 9. I couldn't remember which one.
Yeah.
But the creek runs throughout the entire area. And so they will, they'll either add a little bit more, ground to the area to make the creek a little less, the width of the creek, narrow the width of the creek. And then the next year they'll take away that, and you'll have 2 more feet on the creek that you could accidentally hit. And people find it. I was one of those people who, it didn't matter where the water was on a golf course, I'd find it. Regardless of whether I wanted to or not, I was going to find it. And especially if you grew up in Florida, there's not a lot of hills you're going to deal with. So it's kind of a combination of water and sand. How much water and how much sand you're going to find. But what's fun to watch at Augusta is, as I said before, the fact that you've got the world's greatest golfers, and they try to figure out this course, which they have all played numerous times. And, I will say one thing, though. We were talking about tough to get into. I would say that while it's not as tough to get into, I would say the U.S. Open, because some of these guys who are names. I mean, we're talking about names that we've seen on leaderboards. We've talking about we've seen win major tournaments, having to qualify to get into the tournament.
Yeah, and that's it. I think that is what changed. Like, there's no qualifiers for the Masters, right? It's just win, right? So the U.S. Open does offer those opportunities and those qualifiers where you do see these guys where you're like, who's playing in what on a Monday? Why is he
down the street from where I live? Yes.
Yeah. What is he doing playing on he's trying to qualify for the U.S. Open. Okay. Yeah. So that is something unique that the U.S. Open has in terms of qualifications for it. Because there is no process for that. Like, there's the Open as well has qualifiers that you can play in. Like the PGA Championship lets some PGA professionals play in it as well.
As an amateur.
But this is you get 4 AMs. You get your top 4 amateurs at Augusta, and that's it. So it's AMs, it's past champs, and you better have won, or you better have been playing really good golf throughout the past 3 years to make it to Augusta National.
Yeah, and I think that's what is so much fun about the tournament, is that that the one year that Tiger had shot the like 3 in a row low scores. I mean, it was just like he was running away with it. He was abusing the course from a standpoint of it did not play as tough as Tiger either thought it was going to play or whatever, or maybe he just had a superhuman day. I don't know, or a superhuman week. And the next following year, they started in what was deemed by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution as tiger proofing the course, which was, as I say, these little Easter egg, things that you're going to find along the course. They figured out what would drive Tiger crazy, and they figured out what to do to make it work. So, no, you're not gonna. It's a course, as Jim says, like no other. Okay, it's an event like no other. It's a course like no other. And I do have one quick. A friend of mine has a friend at Augusta, and he played it. And as many times as I think it's like 4 or 5 times I was there, working with CBS at the time. You don't really get to. I mean, you get to walk around the course. You get to be around, the patrons and the cheap cheese sandwiches. And in fact, you can't spend $20 there because you would have more food than you could ever eat.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, are all of that served by people who are volunteers who belong to the course. So, they don't even bring on, catering people for this. This is a tradition. I have a friend, Vic Fredericks, Vic's grandmother and mother. They were dressmakers. They sewed the curtains and for Butler Cabin. I'm sorry. So the people of Augusta, those who do belong, who live there or live within a reasonable short period of time from there, are very protective of every detail in that tournament, on those grounds. As you said earlier, during the hurricane, when trees were knocked down, they were gotten off the course in record time. There's a pride thing about it, and I think that's what is also that makes it special.
Yeah, and in terms of now we'll switch over to the actual golf that's being played this week. Lots to be said. There's only been, I believe, I'm just pulling this stat off the top of my head because I read it online the other day. There's only been one guy that's won the tournament that's taken 3 weeks off prior to it ever. That's important because guess who took 3 weeks off? The last event they played was TPC Sawgrass. That would be Scotty Scheffler, the odds-on favorite. The odds-on favorite's only won it once in the past 14 playings, I believe. That would have been Scheffler as well. So you have that stuff. You have those live guys. Like Bryson is a very popular pick, and it's not. I'm not discounting his ability to play golf. What I'm more thinking is I'm not saying that he can't win it. I'm just more concerned using his past success these last 2 events on live as your grounds for your argument to go win Augusta. Augusta is not these birdie fests that you've played in South Africa and Australia. That's just not. It's not the same kind of test. You're not going to get 26 under here. That was a winning score that he had in South Africa. So it's a different kind of golf course. It's a different type of golf. But for all that being said, Live Golf has had 2 guys that show up for majors pretty much every time, and that's Bryson and that's Jon Rahm. And if it's not those 2 guys, then they got to start hoping and praying that maybe a past champion pops or Tom McKibben decides it's his Rory moment after learning under him for a while, where he pops in his first Masters. But it's something where I don't trust those guys coming into this tournament. I just don't trust the prep the same way that I do on the PGA Tour. And to that credit, that means these guys have also taken a couple weeks off because it was, I believe, 2 weeks ago that the Live Golf South Africa was played. and so it's been a little bit of time for them as well. So there's a lot to be said. A lot of it revolves around your short game, and
Mhm.
like you have to be able to get up and down from difficult places. You have to be able to play different shots
Mhm.
because we talked about it. There's no rough around the greens. Like
Mhm.
that's not an issue. It's fairway cut. So you have to have different types of shots. You go back last year to that shot that Rory had on
Mhm.
what was it, three, two or
Mhm.
three? I can't remember which one is the short par four with the pitched up
I
green.
think it's 3.
Um, yeah, it he hit one where it was on that front left flag, and you look at the heat map of where you can land a golf ball and have it stick on, and
Mhm.
that really what is kind of like a narrow peninsula on
Right.
the left side of that green on three,
Mhm.
and it's thin, but he was able to pitch one up there and had enough spin to where it sat about
Mhm.
hole high. That's stuff that you have to be able to do. So when you're
Mhm.
looking at these guys and thinking about guys that can win, you have to look at the past couple of weeks and the way they've played in those golf in their most recent events, obviously. But you
Mhm.
also have to look at that short game around the green because these guys have to have it here. And if you
Mhm.
don't have it, like if I mean, driving is important. Driving accuracy is important. You obviously will have to get in the right
Mhm.
spots, but it's less about that and more, in my mind, fully about the short game around the green and putting. When you look at those strokes gain stats, you're going to have to be at the top of those statistical categories if
Mhm.
you're going to wear a green jacket on Sunday. I think you can rank 30th in probably driving distance or driving accuracy, and you might still be able to find yourself winning a green jacket because of the way this place is going to play.
Um, my wrap up on this would be that Augusta, Augusta, and the Masters tournament itself is like playing in other sports in a playoff.
Hmm.
You can play all the games on all the courses you want to, but when you step on this particular course, it's as much what's in your head at the time as it is physically you're capable of doing. Because you're, as we said when we started, it's hallowed ground, but at the same time, you've been there and you've done that, right? And you
Hmm.
haven't won, and you just look at it and go, okay, what is it I'm doing wrong? Because
Hmm.
I know I can win this tournament, but what am I doing that's keeping me from it? And that's something Rory talked about, about last year before he won. He said it wasn't as much physical of me being able to do what I needed to do to win. I could do that. It was the mental part of me getting through 18 holes and then coming back the next day and going another 18 holes and then, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Uh, and each time trying to forget the screw up I made the year before.
Yeah, and you described it as hallowed ground for some of these guys
Mhm.
based on the way that things have gone for them in the past. So some
Mhm.
of them it's haunted ground, right?
True. Yeah.
Like I think you couldn't blame Justin Rose. And I
Mhm.
mean, you talked about Jack Nicklaus and his win at
Mhm.
46. If Rose were to win this year, I believe it would reset the oldest player to win the
Right.
Masters, and
Mhm.
Rose would hold that record. But I mean, you couldn't blame him if he came back this
Mhm.
year and didn't play well. Like
Mhm.
it would probably almost feel haunting how close he's gotten twice
Mhm.
now. The year that Sergio won it, he finished second
Mhm.
there. And then he's finished second last year. I mean, these guys like that's such a tough place because you don't know if you're going to be second. You don't know if you're going to be in that final grouping again because of the way that this place can just eat you up as much as it can with just
Mhm.
being the golf course.
Mhm.
It can eat you up in between the years just as easily.
One last thing is it has to do with television we're talking about. Um, CBS handles the world feed for the tournament, which is seen all over the world. And the reason that they start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon of on Saturday and Sunday is because that puts it in prime time in Europe. And so you've got prime time in the UK, prime time throughout the European area, and even a little over prime time, but not too much over prime time in Middle East. And then you're looking at Australia. It's in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole concept is we want the world to see this tournament, but we
Yeah.
want to see the tournament on our terms, and knowing that later in the afternoon is a little more convenient for people who may want to get stuff done in the morning so they can come back and watch it, is one thing that they're you know cognizant of, and they're also cognizant that this is a world tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And much like the Open Championship in England, it's important for them to be able to showcase their event at a time when people overseas can see it literally in prime time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like you've got to be able to reach these audiences.
Mm-hmm.
You hear Rory and the documentaries and the stories he's told. He talked about Tiger winning in '96 and how he idolized Tiger growing up, but he was able to watch that Masters. Like he was able
Mm-hmm.
to see Tiger win in
Mm-hmm.
'96. It's important in terms of it. Really, this is probably your best showcase of golf you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get all year. Just in terms of like the purest aspects of the
Mm-hmm.
sport. So it is important for this thing to be shown all over because it does really good stuff for the game of golf as a whole. Because you do have like these guys from all of the tours getting together. You have the old legends that still play that have won on this golf course, and then you also have the young guys that are trying to carve out their career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the perfect combination and the perfect place to give us the best tournament in golf for really until this time again next year.
I mean, look at Sergio, right?
Mhm.
You look at Sevi Ballesteros. Look
Mhm.
at so many players from Europe have done everything humanly possible to get here to play it.
Mhm.
And so you've got some of the best players on the planet wanting to come to Augusta and wanting to win.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, you've got guys from South America, you've got the concentration from Australia, Jason
Right.
Day, Minwoo Lee, Adam
Right.
Scott, all those guys, right? Like
Mhm.
this is a tournament that's worldwide. It's made for these worldwide audiences.
Mhm.
And the people in these countries, sometimes they watch these tournaments because they want to see the guys from their
Mhm.
countries go
Go cheer
win
them
this
on.
tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you mention it being shown in Australia,
Mhm.
that's going to let people watch Adam Scott and watch Jason
Mhm.
Day and watch
Right.
Minwoo Lee. It's going to let all of the kids in Europe watch their favorite golfers that are going up there.
Mhm.
Kids in Spain can watch John Rahm play
Mhm.
if they want to this year. So all of that stuff is so important because it is such a national brand and
Mhm.
it's a national tournament.
Well, this is about it, boys and girls. We shall be back on tomorrow on Thursday. Any final thoughts before we get out of here
Yeah,
on on
the
this?
the guy that I've picked to win, I just figured I'd get this out here before play
Okay.
starts tomorrow. Guy that I've picked to win this year is Xander.
Okay. You think Xander? Well, you saw Xander at the Valspar, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, he's a guy that the last couple of times he's played, he's put together. And granted, he's in that 2 week window where he's taken
Mhm.
off. Um, but you looked at the weeks that he put together prior to
Mhm.
that, what he did at TPC and the way he finished,
Mhm.
and then the way he finished at the Valspar as well.
Mhm.
It's something where he didn't really get his putting going
Mhm.
until those final days, but it feels like he's just been so close in
Mhm.
terms of the putting his last couple of appearances. And I think it's a place that he has played well in the past. I know we talked about how you can't really bank on that,
Mhm.
but I like the form that he's coming into Augusta with. Obviously, last year wasn't able to give a really good show. He was injured, um, but this year I think he's coming back. I think the putter kind of came into shape or is coming
Mhm.
into shape at the right time for him.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go in the proverbial not going out on a limb at all. I'm gonna go with Scotty, and the reason being his wife they just had their first child. The
Hmm.
there's a calming effect to everything here. He got
Hmm.
there on Monday. He feels good. Um, Everything I've seen on his practice rounds and such, he's been just, at ease with himself. He hasn't got anything else, any worries in his head. He knows the course, and I just feel that so much is falling into place for him for this, that that I think that he can come away with a win. Would it surprise me if Bryson won? No. Would it surprise me? There's a number of probably 7 or 8, 9, 10 guys we could talk about, all of whom are very talented. I just simply think that this might be. And by the way, your pick of Xander is not a bad pick at all. This course Xander plays this course really well, and it fits what he does well. So, 100%.
What's it called? I thought you were
going to tell me that Scotty withdrew.
Oh no, he's having a nice day out. Him and Bennett are taking on the par 3 contest together today.
Okay.
I would assume that Meredith's probably at home taking care of the newborn.
I'm hoping, yeah.
But another guy that the Twitter models and handicappers love this week, you talked about me seeing Xander at the Valspar. Matt Fitzpatrick is a very popular pick.
Oh, okay.
And one
you mentioned that whenever we talked about Valspar, you were on his bandwagon.
Yeah, and it's something where he played well, and I think that's the Valspar is something you heard some guys talk about, like the type of course and some of the tight narrowness of the Valspar. It plays well. They like it as their Masters prep. And so it's something where Fitzpatrick did putt well that week, and the models seem to like his play recently, and they like his stat profile heading into Augusta.
Well, there's not much not to like in that situation. There's a lot to like. So, all right. Well, we won't talk about the Boston Red Sox, but we will get to them later. So there you go, boys and girls. We had a fun time talking about the Masters. Tomorrow we'll actually have, by the time we come on, they'll be teeing it up, and we'll have some names to give you. Right now, not much, but we hope that we set the stage, watered your appetite for it, and we'll be there all the way from tomorrow and Friday, telling you what's going on and setting you up for the weekend. For Matt, I'm Jim. Have a great day, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow at our new time at noon with Bring Your Lunch. We're happy to have you, and don't have to share, but we'll be back tomorrow. Okay.